And hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Tech Informist. This is episode 64, recorded live on Friday, May the 1st. Happy month of May, everybody. May 1st, 2015. My name is Kevin Arvell. I'm joined by Brad Whiteside. Brad, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, Kevin. You know why?
Because you're a Microsoft fan, and this was build week.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
there's going to be a lot of build talk this episode, so I hope you guys are ready.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've been unavailable to watch all these keynotes, but I've been trying to keep up as much as I could, via Twitter. I was doing some media work down at the Edward Jones Dome for a National Wood Flooring Association conference. So I was doing a lot of video work down there for that this week. So I didn't get a chance to watch a lot or really keep up with a whole bunch of things. But, last night I was also doing some video work for a local company in St. Louis, Unidev, who was one of our previous sponsors. And they held it at the Microsoft offices here in St. Louis over at City Place on Olive and Creve Coeur. And, one of the Microsoft employees there, had to stay since, there was an event going on. And before we left, I asked him, I'm like, so you drew the short straw and you didn't get to go out to build? And he kind of just you could just see his shoulders drop. He's like, yeah, I really wish I'd have. He was kind of bummed that he didn't get to go, but yeah, it's what it is. There's a lot of great things that went on this week, and we're going to kind of recap and go into as much detail as we can. But no, it's definitely a good week for that.
Indeed. Yeah, when I was at the Microsoft store on Wednesday, I was talking with some of the employees, and they were going to get to go to Ignite, which I'm kind of jealous about because Mary Jo and Paul Thurrott are having a meetup at Ignite. So awesome stuff, but really jealous for those of you who may or may not be listening.
Yeah, if you go to a conference, I've been to a few this year, and they've been great. But I can only imagine the excitement and passion that surrounds going to build.
Right, yeah.
Because, like I was telling the guy last night, I'm like, Build 2014 was pretty darn amazing. I try to remember what year it was. And but this year it's like, oh my God, it's even bigger and even better. More details on HoloLens and all this stuff about Android and iOS apps being a little bit more easier to kind of quote unquote port over for developers. But yeah.
Yeah, so in regards to a lot of the back-end stuff, I'm not going to lie, I don't know every single thing there is to know about Microsoft. But that being said, there's a few things that they did that I think are going to really help out developers. They really focused on developers this time around, and you could tell. And they really focused on the consumer because there's so much discoverability in Windows 10 now. It's so much better than Windows 8 was with discoverability. And one of the first things that they started talking about was the .NET Core and the Visual Studio's code that are both going to be free for developers to use, as they see fit. Obviously, I'm sure they'll still have the regular Visual Studios that you would normally pay for with all the bells and whistles. But this way, if you're just a single developer, you still have this option to, do great work, but you don't have to necessarily pay for it because you don't have the funds maybe, or you don't have the, maybe you're just trying out an app for the first time on the Windows platform. So this is a good way to do that. Have you done much developing yourself, Kevin?
No, I've used Microsoft's, I believe it's called App Studio, where it's kind of like some drag and drop template kind of stuff where you can...
Yeah, the one on the online.
Yes, and it actually works pretty well. You can still go out and find specific APIs. I believe it was for Flickr because I added some photos and stuff for a little gallery because I just threw together a little app for the little town that I live in. And it was actually pretty easy and straightforward. I probably spent, hour, 2 hours really playing around and just tweaking it, and submitted it, and it it was really pretty easy to use. But I know there's a lot of great tools out there and a lot of great documentation. And one of the nice things about the Microsoft development community is they're all so open to talking and sharing. So if you got questions, you can easily find somebody, and they'll be more than willing to help you out.
Yeah, that's
Point you in the right direction.
Visual Studio CR, as JJ pointed out. But so yeah, I'm not super excited about the developer stuff because I don't know a whole bunch about it. But there's also another couple of things real quick on the developer side that is in a way very cool, because these are things that they can add to make awesome apps. So they also have this thing called SQL Data Warehouse.
SQL. That's what it's called in the developer world. It's SQL.
SQL. See, I don't know these things. This is why you're here.
Yeah, even though I'm not a developer, I hang around enough developers to kind of know some of the little terms.
There you go.
Don't really know what they mean.
Like I said, I'll be the first one to tell you I know nothing about developing an app, but
I know more of the lingo than I do what it means.
Well, good. So you can help me along here. But SQL Data Warehouse, which is basically a data aggregator that you can add into your apps. Cool stuff. Don't know a lot about it, but it's there. So take advantage of it if you're doing anything with data. And then the last kind of sort of boring thing in my mind is Office API tools. This makes it not just for Office, but like for Outlook or Sway or any of these other, Office suite apps that they have online, Office 365 and whatnot. You can add in things like, I don't know, Maps or Pinterest or just Uber. They showed Uber during the keynote. They had ways to plug in apps to help you during your process of maybe writing something or making something up for a job that you need to submit by the end of the day, kind of thing. Like, just so many tools to help people out. Help people out. So also another cool thing, don't know a whole lot about it, but it's API tools. So, I know you developers do know. On to the consumer stuff.
Yes.
Because I know a little more about that.
Yeah, just real quick on the Office 360, on these APIs and things like that. The REST services that provide access to high-value data from 365 services, like mail, calendars, and contacts from Exchange Online, files, folders from SharePoint Online, and OneDrive for Business. And then users and groups from Azure AD. There's a lot of little things that go on behind the scenes that we as non-developers don't realize. We're like, well, how does this integrate with that? And
yeah, they did touch on Azure quite a bit during the developer part, during lots of the coding, all the jumbled characters that I didn't know where they went and what they did, but I knew they did important things. And they talked about a lot of the back end of the Azure and how, like, X amount of millions, billions of people and coding, and it's all been done in the cloud. And it's like, oh my goodness, this is huge. But so yeah, that's all those kind of nice little coding features that you can now do with Windows 10. Speaking of Windows 10, they're changing the store up a little bit. And they're making it to where you've got normal Windows 10 for your normal, customer, and they also have this new Windows Store for business, which is, I think, a great idea, because this gives, let's say, a business control over what your employees can and cannot download, so you can keep them productive instead of them playing games. Cool stuff. It gives control, once again, to the end user, and that's excellent. So one thing was mentioned that I never thought about before, but now that I've heard it, it makes complete sense. So carrier billing is going to be added to not only Windows Phone, but also Windows 10 and so on, where, you can buy apps from the store and just bill it to your carrier. And this is awesome because people in like the up and coming markets may not have a credit card. And I was like, oh, wow, I never thought of that, because I think of America and I think of what we do, and I'm like, everybody's got a credit card or a debit card or something.
Right.
But some of these people might not, and this is an awesome way for them to, buy maybe an essential app that they need for their business or something they want to do at home. This is a great way for them to dive into that. And
yeah, I've actually seen that numerous times in comment sections of posts and things like that, where people will say that they're like, I don't want to tie a credit card to Google Play or whatever. I want to have the option to have it go to just my phone bill. And that actually kind of makes some sense. I know T-Mobile, in the past when we used it, when my son had a T-Mobile prepaid account, we did that as well. That was an option where just charge it to the T-Mobile account, and you don't have to worry about because he was 14 or 15 at the time. I'm like, well, you're not going to be hooking up a credit card to
right.
account. I guarantee that's not happening. But he would still approve it, be like, okay, yeah, you can go ahead and do that, and it would just get charged to his little account with that. But it works really well, and it's good to see that they're trying to expand this into even in the Windows Phone, making that as another option. Yeah,
and I mean, now that you said that, I mean, it's great for students too. Maybe you don't want them to tie a credit card to that.
Right.
Maybe you'd rather have it on their bill that maybe you help them out with while they're in college. As long as they might call and ask for permission or text you or something, you're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. You haven't bought anything this month.
Not racking up $200 worth of in-app purchases or something.
Right, exactly.
Then it becomes a problem.
Oh yeah, exactly. And fair enough. You're the person maybe helping pay for it. So if it's their money, it's their thing. But if you're helping pay, you should have control. And the other thing that they have been saying, I screwed that up a little, but so the other thing they've been saying in Windows 10 store is that there's better discoverability. Like maybe you're looking for stuff, but you don't know you're looking for stuff. Like you'll start typing maybe an app you do know. Well, it'll also suggest things that are new in the store that you might not be aware of just yet or didn't know came out, because you don't follow the news as readily as like somebody like me or Kevin know or do. And so the discoverability is definitely there. Do you think this helps Windows a lot? Do you feel like this is a step up in the right direction?
Well, as for a developer, you want to make sure that your app is easy to discover and easy to find. And sometimes if you type in a search term, and even if you type in the exact app, oftentimes it's not the first one that comes up in the results. And just judging based on experience with Windows Phone in the past, like you still got to scroll down like 7 or 8, and then you see, well, that should be the app I'm looking for, I guess. I mean, it didn't come up first, but I think it's it.
Yeah, exactly. And this kind of ties into something else that we'll talk about in a little bit, but I just wanted to touch on the store a little bit before we get into how you get these apps to the store. Is there anything you wanted to add to the App Store before we get into how you can create for Windows 10?
No, other than the fact that with this with the latest version of the Windows 10 Tech Preview, I believe they changed the new App Store beta to from gray to blue. I mean, it made subtle little tweaks that I still haven't had time to update.
In regards to color, they have an awful lot of blue in their new Windows 10 stuff.
Yeah, so, definitely a lot of blue. So.
Yes, definitely rocking the blue on many areas.
Yeah.
But so during the conference, they had mentioned that there were 4 new, in quotation marks, ways that developers can develop for Windows 10. And I kind of wanted to maybe touch on each one of these and maybe go for a full circle, come back and talk about all of them at once. But so web is a big deal, and that was the first one they announced, because web is something that literally every company uses. I mean, they make web, almost essentially web apps, because that's what the site is, isn't it? Isn't it kind of a web app in a way?
Essentially, yeah.
So when you use the web to create a quote-unquote app for Windows 10, it treats that site as an app now. So it'll bring it up in like a box like it's an app, and you can pin it, and you can get notifications from that web quote-unquote app. And I mean, that's amazing that they figured out all of that, and that they could implement that into Windows 10 to where you can get notifications from a website as an app. That's kind of cool. What are your thoughts on web apps for Windows 10?
In the right scenario, I think they work well. I mean, obviously not every situation calls for a web app.
Right. And I know what you guys are thinking. The web wrapper apps, they're terrible. I understand, but let's look at this big picture. Windows 10 and Windows Phone, they need apps. So these are 4 new ways that they're trying to, just flood the store with new, better ways to get apps in there. So people don't have the excuse, oh, well, I don't have the resources for that.
Yeah,
or there's not enough people, so I'm not going to spend my resources on that.
Yeah, Microsoft's making it very difficult for developers to
say no. Yeah, they're making it very difficult to say no, I think. I mean, if I were a developer, I would have been like overly excited about a lot of this. And in fact, the last one we talked about, there was lots of cheer over. But we're going to move on into the next one. It's .NET and Win32, which I'm assuming is legacy apps, like your normal desktop apps, but they'll actually appear in the store now. Versus where before you might have to hunt them down, like you go to the store, but they're not really in the store. You click on a link and you have to go download it from their website. Whereas here, they actually incorporate it in the store. You get it from the store, and you don't have to chase it down, chase it around. But
yeah, pretty much whenever you're going to be scrolling through this kind of the new version of the store, you won't even really be able to tell the difference, I don't think.
Right, and I think that's good. I think they need this more uniform, like, oh, you can get this app here, and it's just in the store, and you don't, like I said, have to chase it down. They desperately need that, because there's been some apps that I look up on the store in Windows 8, and it's like, oh, well, you have to go to their site. I'm like, but I don't know if I trust them yet. Why do I want to go to their site? I don't like this. I'm not getting this.
Hosted.
Yeah. So one of the big news is, one of the big 4 that they were talking about, and it was kind of big news, was you will be able to use Android, Java / C++ as a new way to develop for Windows 10. So you can take most of your existing Android code now. This is number 3, by the way, if you guys are counting. You can take your Android code and just almost insert it directly into Windows 10. And it does this back-end thing, and boom, app. You have to change like a few lines of code so you can have like live tiles and maybe a few other things you might want to add. But like a lot of the companies that did this, and there was actually one that went on stage, they said it took like an hour to do, which I don't know a lot about coding, but an hour in coding just to do this and get an app up and running sounds like amazing, because I know it takes a lot longer than an hour to get an app up and running, especially a good one.
Right.
So for them to be able to take, now I know, once again, if you're Microsofty and you're thinking, man, why do I want an Android app on my phone? Some of the companies don't want to spend their resources on Windows Phone right now because it's not a big, it's not big. So this is just another way for us to get those apps that, let's face it, some of them look the same on Android and iOS. So why wouldn't they look the same on Windows Phone?
Yeah. Now, speaking to Android and stuff, now this does not mean that, within the next so many months that we're going to be seeing Google Maps.
Exactly. This is
YouTube, because you're still restricted with the whole Google Play services. And, Google's not going to just make that easy for their apps to come over. They probably still will never bring Google Maps or
Exactly.
YouTube, for example.
This is not a quick link to Google Play Store to run it off of Google Play Store. That's not what this is. This is a tool for the developer to take their app that they've already put in Google Play, bring it over to the Windows side, and make it a Windows app, essentially, which will run across all platforms and make it a universal app.
Right. Like JJ mentions in the chat, Candy Crush, for example. It's more for apps like that to bring something over and make it a more universal experience.
Which brings me to our last one, number 4, and the crowd went nuts over this one, Objective-C, which is iOS. I mean, you knew if they were doing Android, they had to do iOS. I mean,
did they go nuts in a good way or a bad way?
A good way. It seemed like there were a lot of developers out there that were extremely excited for this one.
Right.
And
that's good. They should.
It was like cheers, like hurrah, like Windows is listening kind of thing.
Hurrah!
Yeah.
Really? That's
Hurrah.
like 1800 stuffs.
That's
like
okay. I'm
military stuff.
I'm on a roll here. But so yeah, they introduced Objective-C as the next one, and you might be asking yourself, through all of these, like, does this stuff actually really work? But yes, it does, because if you're playing Candy Crush Saga on Windows Phone, that was the first app of this nature to be ported over. It's an iOS app, and it was ported to Windows Phone. It has a 4.5 star rating. It's out of like thousands and thousands of ratings. Like, it's a good app. And it's still good, even though they just ported it almost directly from iOS. Added a few bells and whistles or whatever to make it run on Windows, and boom, app. And I mean, for that to have been working in the store for the past couple of months and no one to know, that's awesome. I mean, that to me shows that you don't necessarily need the old like Windows 8 design for there to be a good app. Like, that doesn't make sense in games per se. Games look how they're going to look because it's a game. It's not like your normal app with like a Metro style. So, between all 4 of those, there's really no reason not to develop for Windows now, especially since they're true universal apps. Like, they're going to run from phone to HoloLens to regular PC to the Surface Hub. I mean, there's so many ways and different routes you can go to use these apps now. What are your thoughts, Kevin, on all these different ways to do this now?
I mean, like I mentioned earlier, it's definitely taking the excuses of more so independent developers to not want to bring their stuff over. I know they showed a really sweet demo of, and I forget who it was, but she showed off kind of like I think it was a hotel app. Here's this specific hotel app working on working on Android, and then
yes,
put that on. JJ, what are you doing? I'm gonna have to pot him down.
Hello,
JJ.
JJ.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
I can also hear me.
Oh crap!
Headphones, sir.
Hold on.
But yeah,
you can also.
They show that it works really well. What it will look like exactly on Windows Phone, and there were not very many differences in the whole visual, appearance of it, and it worked just fine. So I think it's great. Hopefully, more and more companies and people take advantage of this. I know there's a lot of angst and anger towards like Snapchat from Windows Phone users about Snapchat shutting down 6Discover or whatever that is from Rudy Wynn, and 6Snap, I guess was his Snapchat.
6Discover.
All these things.
Is there an echo anymore?
No, it's all good. JJ, how are you doing?
Hey,
Surprise,
what's up, guys?
We don't get to hear from JJ too much. How are you doing, sir?
I'm in a location where I can't exactly talk about it that much, but I was boiling over. I was sitting here, and people in the waiting room were like, "Look, we need you to leave." because you're disrupting everyone else, and you just need to go away. Anyway, so because I'm like vastly typing really fast, and it's I don't know. Anyways, but oh my God, I love you guys. Oh my God, I'm on the Tech Informist. Oh my God.
Now, are you doing this from your phone?
I am.
See, look at that. Look at that. We got a guy here from his phone, folks. J.J. Hammond making a rare appearance on Tech Informist from his phone.
Yeah, so I wanted to contribute a little bit. So
yes, please do.
Because, you know...
You're a developer side. You know, you can speak more on the whole developer aspect.
Well, so, yeah, I felt like it was one of those things where it was like, finally we have a CEO that can actually, instead of stand up there and be, you know, just ridiculous, can actually go, hey, I know what I'm talking about. This is the platform. This is what Windows looks like going forward. And I think the biggest thing that struck me, and I'm really glad I was able to hop in when I did, was when you're talking about development. Microsoft for the longest time had this anti-everybody else. You're going to do what we tell you to do because we were on top for 20 years, and now that we're not, we still think that you should do it our way. So WinRT, you know, the RT platform, and you know, so that the apps could run on ARM, which was big on phones. Obviously Qualcomm and so on and so forth. So having said that, moving on to what was announced on Wednesday and then subsequent days was this idea of being able to run applications within operating systems that have nothing to do with Windows. And I think the term Universal App Platform was really just exacerbated. You know, I don't think anyone really saw that coming as so far as saying that Windows Universal App Platform meant that you were going to be able to write and run applications that are very, not only just similar, but we've been playing these games, we've been watching these games, we've been already experiencing these APIs, and we didn't even know it, like with Candy Crush. It was, like you guys said, developed on iOS for you know, on Mac. There's Linux applications. Scott Hanselman was talking about how you could have a Linux backend with a Windows front end. You could have this, you know, tracking and side-loading apps from a business. So when you guys were talking about the different stores that exist in Windows going forward with the Universal Store as well, so your company can register. Now, we did find out today that Xbox and Windows 10, you still have to be certified through the Xbox, you know, program. But it's one of those things that is probably a necessary evil because you don't want to just throw out games and crap. And also the corporate side, they don't want you really side-loading applications. But you know, a lot of people who love Android like this idea of being able to develop or unlock and then create their own applications and put them out there. And that's used side-loading, and Amazon does that to a certain extent with Android as well. But Windows now offers all of that. So if you guys can imagine applications running on all these different platforms right now, will be able to, they call it rich APIs, but they'll be able to use the same, essentially the same APIs that were used on a handset for Google or iOS, and they'll be able to run them within a sandbox called AppV virtual machine that exists on the device. How crazy is that, guys? So we're going to see devices running essentially a virtual machine within the current existing platform of the Windows, you know, it's Windows 8.1 right now, both on phone and tablet and on PCs, but with Windows 10, you're going to be able to run it in that virtual machine and not even know that you're doing it, and then keeping it from those applications from crashing your overall machine. So if you can imagine, there's like 10, I want to say somewhere around maybe 10 million different applications out there for Win32. Can you imagine those applications moving over to phone and tablet and PC all running within a sandboxed environment? I mean, I thought that was just amazing. And then you can strip out at the back end, you can replace the front end, you can have Linux on the front end with the Microsoft on the back end, Linux on the back end, Microsoft on the front end, or all Microsoft using Azure. It was just this huge explosion of possibilities that you could use. I mean, we interviewed on STL Tech Talk these guys who did My Fake Girlfriend, and they used the .NET framework to build this monstrosity of an application. It's a web app, right? But they use the .NET framework. So and they were talking about on the show how they wanted to kind of expand it out a little bit. Well, guess what? Now they can do that with ASP.NET, and they can really explode it to mobile devices and web applications, and making that web application show up in the store for the Universal App Platform with the Microsoft Store, and then that'll allow people to get notifications and all sorts of stuff. So I've been talking for like the last 15 minutes, and I'm pretty sure that the doctor called my name like 5 minutes ago, but do you guys have any questions?
No, I mean, you definitely touched on everything that I was trying to get across, but you just kind of tied it up in a nice little bow and set it on the table for us.
I know. I mean, that was great because to have that insight of, you got two non-developers here talking about developer stuff, and
yeah,
it's nice
sorry,
to have somebody that is more familiar with the whole development side to come on and kind of speak on that. So, it's good.
And real quick, here's the other thing that's really cool, is C++ applications in Java. When I saw that's amazing because, look, Java's on kind of a downswing just because Oracle, who owns kind of Java, well, I mean, it's kind of like this open platform, and it really was trying to say that it could do a whole bunch more stuff than it's doing right now. But a lot of those applications, a lot of the code you can put side by side next to C# and F, Sharp and all the newer languages, and you can kind of debug that side by side on these different machines, so I mean, it's not going to happen right away, but when it does happen, it's going to be it's going to be amazing to watch. And I think one of the biggest things here is it doesn't cost anything to be a developer. You pay once, and then after that, it's bar none the best experience. So you get Visual Studio. So, for example, if you're working with Xamarin, all right, or if you're working with Visual Studio Community Edition, where it's free, and you're using Xamarin tools, which are free, if you write everything in C#, it will, or even C++ and Java or Objective-C and all that kind of stuff, if your workflow is there, it's going to take a minute, but then you can port all of those, and then you'll have a universal project within arguably the best IDE ever, which is Visual Studio, and then you can have third-party NuGet packages that you can download from the Visual Studio Store for free, and then put that sucker out there. And it's just the future's gorgeous, and it's gonna open up the doors for a lot more consumers. But more so, I don't know about you guys, but I feel more comfortable with Microsoft's security, with their deliverability, reliability, and the fact that they're going to silo some of these things off and kind of have extensions. So it's almost like they're taking the best from Android and iOS and being able to deliver these applications to us as the consumer in the best secure possible way. So I'm very excited about that stuff. So guys, thank you so much for having me back on and sending me the link. And I hope you guys have a great rest of
you
the
asked in the chat if you could call in. I'm like, well, there's only one way I can get you to call in, and that's just get you that nice private link.
Yeah, thanks for stopping in. I mean, like Kevin said, we're two non-developers trying to explain developer stuff, so it was nice to have that insight, and I literally just completely agree with everything you just said. So
it's all better than having it run in kind of an emulation.
Yeah, and just to touch real quick on that,
just not the same.
Yeah, I mean, so this doesn't mean that we're going to have all these apps all at once. This means that all the developer has to do is literally almost just press a few buttons and boom, Windows app. It's still up to the developer. So people like Snapchat, we probably won't see them for a while, maybe if ever. Don't know. But I think if I were Snapchat, I would not want to be left behind, because the future of computing, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be HoloLens. Whether you like it or not. And
oh my God! Don't even get me started. Oh my God!
Oh, we're gonna start talking about that in a little while, JJ.
Okay. Well, just to wrap up, guys, I love you. I miss you. I'm sorry I haven't been around. But it was so great to talk to you both today. I just miss the crap out of you guys and our listeners and stuff. But anyways, love you, miss you. Have a great weekend, and talk to you guys later.
Yep.
You too. Bud. Good to hear from you. See ya.
All right. See ya.
Yeah.
So that was JJ.
That was JJ. JJ making his grateful, somewhat temporary return to the show.
Yes. So, all right. So, got that out of the way. Most of the developer stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that is one thing that BlackBerry has been doing kind of for a while, people have been sideloading certain Android apps and getting them to run on BlackBerry.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same experience because they don't always run properly, but
well, one of the cool things that they are doing with these sideloaded apps are they're going to be sandboxed and keep it off of the actual OS, so to speak. But you'll still be able to run it, like JJ said, in kind of this virtual machine sandbox. So it kind of it's like a white blood cell surrounding, you know, an infectious disease almost. It's like it's gonna, you know, stop from all the bad things that could happen.
Yeah,
and just
keep it quarantined off to the side and do it.
Yeah, and that is a fantastic idea. Why did we not think of this before?
Yeah. But I mean, it just reiterates, you know, what Microsoft's direction is right now is just, you know, services and
be everything to everyone everywhere. That's what they're kind of saying.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to segue into this next thing, but we'll just kind of jump right into it. One of the cool things that they were showing on the desktop was this thing called Windows Spotlight, and I was a big fan of this because there's a few reasons why. But number one, you don't have to have this on. It's sort of a ad-based thing, but they also like personalize it. So every time you like a picture, they'll start showing more pictures like the picture you just liked. And, you know, maybe you don't get on your computer in like a week or so, but you hop back on a day and they show an app that you've never heard of or seen before. You know, you can like or dislike that and get on with your, you know, normal pictures that you'd want to see instead. Kind of like how Bing does a new picture every day. That's one of the reasons why I like Bing. I know it's stupid and silly, but that's one of the reasons I do like it. I like seeing new things every day. So this just adds to that discoverability where you will have apps in spotlights to the user, direct to the user, like, hey, there's this new app, you should check it out. You know, it does this and this. Here's the information. Click on the link, go to the store, you can get it. And that's really cool.
Right. Now,
this helps users find those apps. What is your take on Windows Spotlight?
I mean, I think it's neat because, you know, it's one of the nice things about Windows Phone lock screens. And I mean, I know this isn't just for Windows Phone, but it's also going to be for desktop and Surface, etc.
Yeah, and they demoed it on the desktop. I'll just throw that out there. So
Yeah,
that's why I was kind of referring to that.
You know, looking at the Windows Central post that they kind of talk about it, you know, seeing the image there, it's kind of like the really fancy Cortana symbol here and really nice looking visual.
Yeah, that was an awesome image. I need to look that up.
Yeah. I mean, it's good because it helps, you know, hopefully they don't just use, you know, the big time applications. You know, they give some other people a chance to, you know, kind of get their app seen. Because, you know, that's one thing that people have had trouble with if you're small time developers, getting your app out there and noticed, and, you know, so people can discover it. Not, you know, because if you don't know the name, you don't know what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, not all these big apps, like, they don't just start big. Like, a lot of them, like, for instance, Minecraft, it didn't start big. It was this small little development studio, you know, and they made it big because they had a product that people wanted. And the only way to do that is discoverability. You know, that helps move these things along better. And if you have like these smaller developers, especially on a Windows platform where Surface and 2-in-1s are becoming more and more popular and people want these devices, if you have a way to discover all these great apps, this just helps that developer even more. Like, them helping developers, it's just like, you know, like Satya said, it's just music to his ears. They want to get these people out and going and, you know, get a business going. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just for, you know, app discoverability. There's also some other features as well that you can.
Right.
It's not just calendar notifications and, you know, what's
right. One of the things, what was the other thing that they showed? Oh, it was like things you might not know, like, hey, have you tried Cortana? Which I can kind of segue into this next part.
Look at you, man. You're getting good at this.
They're like, hey, you want to try Cortana? And if you've never tried Cortana, you know, you just booted up your brand new Surface, let's say Surface Pro 4, and you haven't used Cortana yet, they might show on the Windows Spotlight, you know, like Spotlight Cortana or another feature that Windows 10 has.
Yep.
And you can check that out. And so, speaking of Cortana, On the Windows desktop side, they showed, a few interactions with her. So like maybe you would be wanting to launch, like, hey Cortana, launch. My phone's going to go off. Hey Cortana, launch, this game or whatever. But maybe there's a newer game in the store that you didn't know about. So now it brings up your game, but it also shows the new game in the store. Like maybe you're interested in this, and once again, discoverability. Which is good. And let's see, what are the other things? I mean, there was a lot of new animations that they were showing. You can just tell that their Windows 10 is still being, it's still going. It's still being produced, and they're still doing great things with it. Kevin, do you remember anything specific about Cortana on the desktop? For whatever reason, it's kind of escaping me.
Well, I know on the desktop they're wanting it to have more integration within. I mean, not just throughout. What's the weather going to be like, and it's going to have such a deeper rooted integration with Windows itself, and Office, and you just give it a search term, and it'll search like your OneDrive, for specific documents or anything that ties in with the thing that you're looking for or you want it to do. And
yeah, like it's kind of like Google Now, where the more you tell her, and the more personalized she can be, and the more she can help you out.
yeah,
So it's very like on Windows Phone, it's very personalized, and it's a lot of the things that you see are geared towards you. And like another area that they're adding Cortana is the new Project Spartan, which is now called, wait for it, Microsoft Edge. What do you think of that name? Just curious.
Yeah, I know that had a lot of people kind of
bumming,
talking about it. Yeah, because you kind of were thinking, they would just leave it as something like Microsoft Spartan.
Yeah,
just totally get away from it, because then you look at the new logo and it's basically just an updated
Internet Explorer logo.
Explorer icon. I'm like, oh, why did they do that? But
Microsoft
Edge sounds okay. The Edge browser.
Yeah, and
I can live with that.
I can live with it. Like, no, I'm not crazy about the name, but you know what? It could have been way worse.
Yeah,
it really could have. So Edge, it's a happy medium. I'll go with it. I get why they want to call it Edge. It's a lot easier to put across to customers to market for than maybe Spartan. So I can see why they went with Edge. So once again, it doesn't bother me as much as when I heard it initially. I'm actually taking to it okay now. With Edge too, Cortana's in there, so you have quick access to searches across the web, or maybe just need a dictionary real quick. You can highlight a word and say, hey, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Just
real quick while we're talking about that, is the integration with like what they're doing, what Microsoft is doing with Uber, and integrating Uber into its calendar for Outlook. Now, of course, living in St. Louis, we're pretty much, out of luck right now.
Yeah, right now.
Uber and Lyft and all those kinds of services. But, people that live in areas that, have Uber access can definitely take advantage of this. And I know they showed off some demos, because I did kind of see The Verge did a really nice thing. Here's the opening, build keynote or all the, videos and stuff in like 9 minutes. So you're seeing this. So, I mean, props to The Verge for doing that.
Yeah, check that out if you want to get a feel on how build went. 9 minutes is a lot easier to devour than the 3 hours that I kind of rewatched last night.
Yeah, so Microsoft is planning to suggest Uber rides within Cortana alongside transit information to help Windows Phone users decide which mode of transport they want to use for appointments. It's interesting progression of how Microsoft has engineered Cortana and the company's plans for the digital assistant. Extending Cortana to other apps and services is the key if Microsoft wants it to become something every Windows 10 user relies on.
And yeah, with Edge, like you said, those extensions, like with Uber and with the mail clients, and it's it's going to open up a lot of possibilities on the Windows side. So yes, we have Firefox, we have Chrome, but Windows has never really had a web browser with web extensions. So this excites me quite a bit because I use Cortana a lot. In fact, Cortana is one of my favorite features. It's the reason I cannot jump platforms right now, because I use and like her that much. And for it to, use very well, it works very well with my band. Using her to remind me of things constantly, because I have a terrible memory, just how I am, and being able to text people from my band with Cortana is also just really awesome. So
yeah, you think your memory's bad. Wait till you get to be my age.
Oh boy, I can only imagine. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the web extensions, they're not going to be ready until they RTM.
And it's going to be a little while before that's
yeah. So if you're in the developer preview or the not developer preview, but
tech preview.
Yeah, if you're in the tech preview, you're not going to see these things. So don't worry about it. Just use the browser. Tell them what you like, tell them what you don't like, and
your Windows
get that feedback out there.
Feedback.
Because things can still be changed. So get that feedback out there. But when they do come out, you're going to have cool things like they showed, like the Reddit extension, or even something that I use quite frequently on all my browsers is Ad Blocker Plus. I always say Ad Blocker Plus, which is awesome for those sites that are just littered with ads and just
especially the pop-up ads.
Yeah, and they just bog your system down, and you can't get work done.
Yeah,
and
there's ways to put advertisements on your website.
Yes.
But do not annoy the person visiting. I don't want to start reading a website and start scrolling down, and I'm like 7-10 lines in, all of a sudden, bloop, hey, sign up for our email newsletter. No, stop that. If I want to, just put it over on the nice little sidebar. And if I want to sign up for your newsletter, I will sign up for your newsletter so I can be alerted to stuff. I don't need that, thing that takes up the, entire screen, and then I have to click the X and get out of it. I'm like, oh, anyway.
Yeah. So the Edge web browser, Microsoft Edge, it is a universal app, so you'll see it on HoloLens. Speaking of phones, they show the Continuum for phones, Kevin.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
This is when from here on out, it's just super exciting stuff to me. The Continuum for phones basically puts a PC in your pocket, because when you go to dock it and you connect a keyboard and a mouse to your phone, it literally becomes a full-blown Windows 10 computer. Like, it works the same way. You have an app switcher where you can switch back and forth from apps, and you can get things done on a phone.
Yeah.
Like, I think people have been dreaming of being able to dock their phone and use it as a full-blown PC, and I think your dreams are becoming realities with Continuum for phones.
Right.
Because the way they used it, like, the apps blow up into their full form that you would normally see on the desktop. And it's the same app that's still running on your phone. No, tricks or anything. It's just, it realizes, oh, you've been connected to a screen. We're going to, do this instead with the code. And it makes it the full app. Like they showed full Office. And it's the same Office app that launches with the phone. But because it's the bigger screen, they have more, more ways to use that real estate of the screen. So, it makes that big app thing. So that was hands down maybe one of the most exciting things during the entire thing. I mean, what would you use this on your business trips?
Yeah, actually I would, because sometimes I've definitely found that I like traveling light. I don't.
Oh yeah, me too.
I don't like to take a whole lot of things. And with this last trip, I kind of debated, do I take my full-fledged MacBook or do I just travel with my Surface? So I chose to just take the Surface because it's lighter, it's more portable. I can still get everything I need to get done.
And how'd you like that? Versus a full-blown tab. I mean, a full-blown laptop.
I mean, it was fine. I think I would have been fine either way.
Yeah, I think so too.
Since most of the things that I've been going to are these humongous conferences where I'm having to lug my backpack around for 6, 7, 8 hours a day.
Yeah,
it really does wear on your back and your shoulders. So every ounce that I can remove from this backpack is
better on you.
Yes.
I think
now with Continuum, according to Joe Belfiore, it's more stuff for upcoming devices that really aren't even released yet. But I mean, there might be some kind of ways that they can work with it with like the 1520 or some of the more,
or maybe like the 930 and the anything that's more recent. I think they would be able to use this. And the way this is kind of interesting. So the Continuum is, like you said, for those devices that haven't come out yet. But I feel as if like anything with the quad core design, like the 830 even could utilize this as the full PC mode, because it seems like they want to put PC power into the hands of people who normally can't afford a PC, but they still need or want to get work done. And this is a way to do that, especially in, once again, those upcoming countries that maybe they don't have a lot of money, but they can get, they can afford, a mid-range phone, and maybe that becomes like their computer. I mean, it definitely becomes their computer now, but what if they could just connect it to their TV at home, and maybe buy a cheap little Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. Boom, computer. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that's going to be great in a pinch. That,
absolutely.
For some reason, you're called upon to do a presentation, and if you do have your Windows phone, you've got your PowerPoint, in your OneDrive, and you're like, oh, well, I can just give a presentation right now. You can just plug your phone in, and boom, there's everything. Your presentation's right there. Do your thing.
So this makes me really want that new foldable keyboard that Microsoft just released, that Bluetooth.
Yeah, that they announced a month or two ago.
Yeah, I think it's CES.
It was after CES. It was at Mobile World Congress.
Yeah, the Mobile World. That's what yeah, you're right. So yeah, they announced that. That is exactly what I thought of when they showed Continuum. I'm like, I need that now, because that with the nice little mouse that I know you're rocking somewhere.
Yeah, the little arc mouse.
Yes, that with that. Mouse. I mean, super portable, and that's awesome stuff. I was just super excited when I saw that. I just mind blown kind of thing.
If they can get this thing fine tuned to work and run on a nice variety of hardware, that's good. It's going to be pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and speaking of mind blown, the HoloLens, Kevin, this is just, they could have just dropped the mic and walked off stage, because every time they show HoloLens, it is just mind blowing. Like the first demo they did was it was a guy, kind of in his apartment, and he had things pinned to his wall. So every time he would walk into that room, that's where they were. And he could have so he had a video playing on the bigger wall behind him. So he's like, follow, and the screen would follow him.
It was like
the room.
Yeah, kind of like a, like in comics where you got the quote window. It's just like following right behind him. And then he did that where he was watching a movie, and then he resized the display.
Oh my God!
On the wall, I was like,
oh, the resize, like it made it look like it was like 100-foot screen, like it was ginormous, and that's just, I can't even I can't think of how that would really look like for real in real life, tangible, like things that I can do with these holograms. Like that's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
And just to kind of wrap this into something else too, they showed a little robot that they attached holograms to and little controls with the robot. And the robot, by the way, was controlled by a Raspberry Pi, the Internet of Things kind of device. So that was pretty cool. And, the robot was pretty simple for the most part, but the technology that was stuffed into it, coupled with HoloLens, made it less simple and more like it could do these complicated tasks and still succeed at what it was doing. So that was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad the Verge had that in its little 9-minute video, because I was able to see these things you're actually referring to, and I was like,
yeah, like
this is pretty
I was not
stuff.
When I first saw HoloLens, I was not a believer. I had to read other people who tried the HoloLens out to be a believer. I am a complete believer. This is definitely the future. Now, whether you maybe do personal computing or just, you know, things for fun on it, I don't know yet. But this
now they didn't give more of a release time frame or more specific when it comes to like what it's going to cost for retail.
I know a lot of people are like, just tell us a price. We don't care when it releases, just tell us a price. But they didn't want to do that yet, so that's fine. Maybe we'll see more of that, you know, later this summer. I'm sure. Definitely going into the fall, because they want to. Everything from what I've gathered is going to be releasing this year. It's going to be more of a staggered release cycle. So the first thing that's going to release is Windows 10,
right,
for
desktop and Surface and stuff.
And then they're going to stagger things like HoloLens, Surface Hub, Xbox One, Windows 10 on Xbox One, and Windows phones. That will be later. I also wanted to touch real quick, people who are partnering with HoloLens right now: NASA, JPL, Trimble, Unity, Autodesk, Walt Disney. If Disney goes with anything, usually it succeeds. So if that doesn't tell you anything, and Cleveland Clinic are all, you know, HoloLens partners. So, you know, if you know anything about like the beta disc war or the Blu-ray or the HD DVD wars, like anytime Disney goes with something, it succeeds.
Yeah.
So that should tell you the power behind HoloLens.
Disney and the adult industry.
Yes.
Where they put their focus is who ends up winning.
I mean, it's a real possibility, because they were showing a cadaver, and it was a real kind of person, like right there in the room. I don't know where they're going to go with that, but I'm sure our listeners have a quite imaginative, imagination.
I would think the Mayo Clinic out of Minnesota would get involved with this. I believe that's where they're from, is Minnesota.
Oh, okay, yeah.
For the whole medical aspect of it, because I did see, the different layers of the different systems. The respiratory, the endocrine, and just all the muscle skeletal systems and things like that.
They're like those clear projector sheets of paper that you put on top of each other. Yeah. And with each one, it gives you a different layer. But now it's just like you do it in real time in the room, so everyone can kind of see, kind of thing.
Right. So you can see the different kinds of breaks of a femur in your leg.
Oh, it's so awesome. It has so many uses. And if you want to see more of HoloLens, go look up videos, but look for more new things happening at E3 this year, which I forgot to look up the date, so forgive me. I think it's June 16th. Somewhere, it's like mid-June. It's on a Monday. It'll be during Microsoft's keynote. They're always the first one to present. So
June 16th through 18th.
There you go.
Los Angeles Convention Center.
Yeah, so more to come at E3 for HoloLens. I guess we should start wrapping things up, huh?
Yeah. I just one other little thing real quick. Last night, Elon Musk, a little bit later than originally scheduled, came out and announced the Powerwall, which is a battery for your home. It's like really big. Now, this is all from Tesla, of course, makers of the super fast and awesome smart electric cars. So what this is a battery big enough to power your whole home. And what is the specs on this thing? Let's see, it will come in a 10 kilowatt hour model and a 7 kilowatt hour model. The battery comes in a narrow rectangular case. It can be mounted inside or outside a residence. Both models will be 220 pounds, 51 inches tall, 33 inches wide, 7 inches thick.
Sounds like a big battery.
Yeah. So as of now, the 10 kilowatt version is going to be selling for $3,500, and we'll start shipping this summer.
Wait, 3,500 as in 3,500?
3,500
for a house. That's amazingly cheap. Like, I would have thought it would be twice or three times that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting stuff here.
Real quick, he was actually on Star Talk Radio, and I have the utmost respect for this guy now. After listening to him on Star Talk Radio, I mean, this guy really just puts all this knowledge that he has into his products, and like this new house battery thing, like, sure, maybe laugh at it now, but I feel like this could really be the future, because if we can harness the sun's power, I mean, that's free energy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no reason not to. So for us to store that in our homes for like when, let's say we have a bad storm and the power goes out, well, the power's not going out because you got that battery, right? So that's cool stuff. I really hope this takes off and just pushes us into the next, area for smart homes, for storing energy. And I hope this does really well. But being as it's priced very, very well, I don't see any reason why it won't.
No, because I mean, you factor in people, they'll spend thousands of dollars for generators to be built that just sit outside your home, and as soon as your power goes out, they automatically
got to go fill it up with gas, which is not necessarily good for the environment. And yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So according to this, you can use up to 9 power walls can be stacked together.
I was just about to ask that. That's
for
awesome.
A particularly large house or small commercial applications.
That is awesome.
For larger businesses and utilities who want to go off the grid, there's a bigger version in the works known as the Power Pack. And this is where Musk's vision zooms ahead to a future where energy is generated by renewable resources and stored for future use in giant batteries.
Good for him. I hope this really takes off. Anything else on that you wanted to add?
No, that's pretty much it. I know we've kind of gone longer.
A little overtime. Well, there was a lot to get through, and we had a little special guest, so I hope you guys enjoyed JJ popping in for a real quick minute. I know I did.
Yeah, it was great to actually hear from him. I saw him it was last Saturday, so it's been a while. Absolutely. He's dealing with some things, but hopefully getting that all taken care of. A few things coming up that we will be talking about is the HTC One M9. I've got one here to review.
Yeah.
So actually just charging it up now, and still got the Galaxy S6 Edge over there. I'm trying to think. I got the HTC RE, the little camera.
Yeah.
You trying that out as well. So a lot of things coming up to talk about and shoot some videos for.
I got 2 real quick app picks. They're all Windows centric, since that's kind of the talk today. The first one is Band Translate for Windows Phone. It is free. It's for your Microsoft Band, and basically you hit the action button and you talk to Cortana and be like, hey, translate good morning in, let's say we're here in St. Louis, so translate good morning to Bosnian, and it does that right there on your wrist. You don't have to pull out the phone. As long as you can kind of read Bosnian, you're pretty much good to go. It's a nice quick way to maybe translate something you want to say real quick to somebody, or just a nice little app to fool around with. It's free, so go check that out. Go try it out.
Help make somebody that speaks English is not their native language.
Exactly.
You kind of feel comfortable and show them. I mean, in my opinion, it kind of shows them that you care.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And then the other one I have, I don't know if I've said this before, but Password Padlock. If I have, I'm sorry, but it is just a fantastic app. It's a great way to store your passwords on your devices, and this is for Windows 8 and Windows Phone, or Windows 8.1 / Windows Phone. Basically, you download the app, put your passwords into it. It's free, by the way, and it's done very well. And you put your passwords into it, and it's ASE 256-bit encryption, so super secure. Yeah, and super secure. Doesn't store your master password on the device, so that's good. And you can bring all your passwords into the cloud. So let's say you get on Windows Phone first, you put on all your passwords, or Windows first, and vice versa. Put it all in the cloud, and then you download the app for one or the other. You just drag and drop. It's like instantaneous. It just populates your entire list. It's amazing. Yep. So every time I get a new Windows Phone, it just boom, it's all right there. All my passwords. It's fantastic. I always have them. So
actually, it looks pretty nice.
Yeah,
looking at some of the screenshots and things.
It was one of the first password padlock kind of secure password storers on Windows Phone that I can remember. I've had this since my Samsung Focus, if that tells you anything.
It's actually impressive looking at the reviews. How many have been recently posted in the last week? So apparently something has changed recently. But the last update was October 30th of 2014.
Yeah, actually, he added Cortana integration, so you can search for things with Cortana now on it. Which, once again, I love Cortana, so that's awesome stuff. Is there anything else that you needed to add before we wrap this thing up? Because I know we're a little over time.
I think we're good.
Sorry for a nice long episode, but this is just definitely something I really love talking about. If you couldn't,
I knew this episode was going to be a build recap, and it was going to be loaded up with Microsoft news. And I know we didn't even cover everything.
No, we didn't. We could have kept going, but
I mean, no new hardware, was announced.
No, I'm sure that'll come later, though.
Yeah, so no Windows Phone devices to look forward to.
Yeah,
still waiting for information. And I mean, there's kind of some rumblings about the Surface Pro 4 maybe being released in May. Which I mean, obviously that's this month. So
yeah, it's this month now, so not too far away.
Nothing officially announced, but we'll see.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that pretty much does it here. We do appreciate everybody listening and watching and tuning in after the fact. For those of you that didn't listen live, if you're available at noon Eastern Standard Time on Monday, Wednesday, or Fridays, we invite you to come over to thetechinformist.com/live. Hop in the live chat, watch live, interact with us as well. Obviously you saw JJ did, and we brought him back on the show just to see how he was doing. He was available. So usually he's not. So make sure to give us some feedback either via email, contact at thetechinformist.com, or on Twitter at techinformist, Facebook, Google Plus, wherever it is you would like to. You can find me, Kevin Harvell, on Twitter at Kevin Harvell, and Brad Whiteside at holy_shadows. So if you have anything else that you guys would like us to discuss on a future episode or a future topic you'd like us to go more in depth on, let us know, because we are always on the lookout for new and exciting tech. So
yeah, absolutely. So I guess that does it.
Yes.
Sam, have a great weekend, everyone. I'm glad you're listening, and you continue to listen, and we really thank you.
Yes, we do. So as Brad said, everyone have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you on Monday with more tech news. And until then, consider yourself informed. We are out.
Take care, everybody.